Welcome back to Bachelor Nation's favorite podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe here and follow us on Instagram at E&G Podcast. Available now are previous episodes with Bachelor favorites including Luke Pell, Ashley Iaconetti, Robbie Hayes, Leah Block, and much more. Plus, this season with Nick, we're bringing you weekly recaps, Bachelorette interviews, and exclusive offers from friends of the podcast. Thanks for listening.
You at E&G, you guys are getting out there, man. You guys are diligent.
I'd say with Lace, it's dicks over chicks, 100% of the time.
I wanted her to be happy, and what choice that was up to her.
I'm busy. I'm in it to win it. I love them. They're so fun.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Ian.
Today's episode of the E&G podcast is sponsored by our good friends at Clothing by Owl. All you Bachelor fans will recognize this name as they are the company behind the hugely popular Wine Bachelor and Yoga Pants tank top. What you may not know is that they give back a percentage of every item sold to Animal Rescue, and that notable Bachelor alums like JoJo Fletcher, Caitlin Bristow, Lauren Bushnell, Ben Higgins, and Nick Vale are all huge supporters. We're happy to offer our listeners 20% off when you visit clothingbyowl.com. Simply add the discount code ENG, that's EANDG, to save on all your Bachelor gear. And be sure to follow them on social media at Clothing by Owl.
Jeff and I are doggy dads, which is why we're so excited to be partnering with our newest sponsor, Puppies Make Me Happy. They have a super simple mission to make the happiest clothes on earth, which they do. And we know our listeners will love this brand just as much as we do. Plus, we're excited to help spread a little happiness ourselves by offering listeners 20% off all merchandise by using discount code ENG. That's EANDG at checkout. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at Puppies Make Me Happy.
Welcome back to the E&G podcast. Very excited about this interview we just had with the hilarious and always real Daniel from our neighbor to the north, Canada.
Daniel Maguire. It was awesome to connect with Daniel after all this time, man. He's been one of our favorites, certainly since his stint on Paradise, more so recently, but even since the very beginning, right, Jeff? I mean, with JoJo, he was the guy that kept it very real, and he was friends with Chad, so he was obviously around a lot of the drama that took place in the house, and he had some really good perspective to share really on everybody that he's encountered, whether it was on JoJo's season or this most recent season in Paradise.
You know what? This guy, I think he was exactly who he was on TV, except he came across a lot smarter. They tried to play him up on TV sometimes to be a little bit like he alluded to being portrayed as a meathead just because he was big and had muscles and stuff. But I mean, this guy talked about his psychology degree and stuff, so it was pretty interesting, man. He seemed a lot deeper than they let us see him on the show. But other than that, he was who he was on the show, and this guy's great.
I completely agree, right? Daniel was well-traveled. He had a lot to say. He had a very unique opinion, I think, that a lot of people will be interested in, whether it be on JoJo or many of the other women maybe from this season and some of the experiences that he had, but also how he feels about people like Nick, right? And so it was a lot of fun. We jumped all over the place, but we actually got a lot out of Daniel, and he was fighting a cold, so we appreciate him making some time, and we hope he's feeling better.
Yeah, so enjoy Daniel.
What's up, Daniel? How you doing, man?
Hey, not too bad. I'm just chilling out in my place. Got to do some errands. Yeah, do some errands today, but nothing too crazy.
Nice, man. So are you living in Vancouver currently?
Yeah, I live in Vancouver. I've been here about 3 years on and off. I grew up in a small town about 5 hours from here, where I grew up, and I would spend the summers there during university as well. So, and then a lot of traveling in between, the last 7-8 years. So I've been kind of all over the place.
Definitely, man. No, Vancouver is easily one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I grew up in Seattle, so that was a quick trip for us as well. I had to ask you, have you been keeping up on this new season?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I've been following it because a couple of reasons. One is because, I obviously, was on Paradise with Nick, so I was curious on how he would do, and also because after being on the show, I wanted to see how, having a different perspective, and I wanted to see how the show was, how the girls were, and the guy, and Nick. But also, in case I do Paradise again, I want to see what the girls are like.
Doing some recruitment. I see. Well,
Yeah,
we saw
kind of,
you.
because
Yeah, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, because when I had done the Bachelorette and Paradise, especially Bachelorette, I had no idea how the show went because I never watched the show, and I didn't know anything about JoJo. I didn't know what she looked like or anything. And then the same with Paradise. The Paradise, they were like, "Are any girls you're interested in?" And I said, "Well, I have no idea because I've never seen the show before," and I just kind of went into naturally, but like kind of just like a wild card, and which is good to kind of go in things like with no preconceived ideas of anyone. But at this point, I'm kind of curious on what the girls are like and whatnot.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, I mean, you just broke it down for us, but when you first initially met JoJo, what were your thoughts on her?
Yeah, so like I didn't know anything about her except for she was, I guess, into real estate, and she was from Texas. And I found this out like 1 or 2 days before I got a limousine. And so then when I got a limousine, I saw her for the first time. I thought when I first saw her, I wasn't like, wow, this is a girl I'm attracted to, or that I like. When you see some girls, you're just like, wow, I have to meet this girl, or wow, I'm in love, or
Right. Sparks are there. Yeah.
no,
sure.
not even close. Yeah, it was just kind of just like basically another kind of a regular girl sort of thing.
That's great, man. So I'm gonna ask you this right now. We're gonna ask you later, but how do you feel about how you were edited on the show? Because we just talked to you for 4 minutes, and you seem like the same guy on TV. Like, you're like, oh, I saw her. I was like, whatever. She didn't seem that great. Did you think you were edited on the show fairly, or do you think they kind of use you just for like, because you said some funny stuff, like some comedic, parts?
So, first off, for Bachelorette, I thought it was pretty funny. Some funny comments. A couple times where I cringed a little bit embarrassing, but for the most part, pretty good. I was a little disappointed that Chad had so much airtime, that they focused the whole thing kind of on Chad, because it took away from other people's personalities and other stories or other stuff that could have gone on. But that being said, a lot of the guys in the house at the time, all they did was talk about Chad, and everything was Chad. So it was kind of like they kind of played into, him and the whole situation. So, I mean, that's all. I mean, plus it's good entertainment, but it kind of took away anyone else's time on television or their experience. And so, I mean, if they hadn't showed more of me, then they would have showed like maybe more like different sides of me, which I don't really care, how I came across, good or bad. I thought it was pretty funny. And, they can only show so much, right? There's only like an hour episode. And, since I only lasted to top 10 or top like 11 or 12. If I made it to the final four, then obviously they probably would have like edited me more into the story or into TV time in the first like 5-6 episodes. So no, I don't. Some people probably were like obviously during the first Bachelorette, people thought like there was some negative stuff, and people thought it was the drunk Canadian and yada yada yada. But you got to realize it's TV. Anybody with half a brain will realize that TV, that they can only show so much. That probably this guy is not like this the whole just the way like his whole life.
Right. We talk about that all the time. It's so funny that if you look on social media, especially so many people don't have half a brain because they're just like, that guy's a fucking moron, or this girl's a total piece of shit. It's like, geez, you're seeing an edited down version that you're watching like less than 1% of them.
It is so bad. Like before going on the shows, I had, I got my degree in psychology, I'm a certified personal trainer, so I've done quite a bit of schooling. I've done 5.5 years of university. I've studied in Canada. I've studied in Australia. I've traveled for 40 months overseas, backpacking around the world, and I feel like I have a pretty good insight into society and people's intelligence and yada yada yada. And before going on the show, I thought people were kind of, not that bright. A lot of people are just kind of like sheep, not too educated, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But after being on the show, oh my God, yeah, you realize how dumb people are and just how there's just no brains, It's just it's just frustrating. Sometimes it's frustrating. Like I always roll my eyes, but like some of the comments I get, like on my Instagram, like 99% are good. But like once in a while, you get people who say not negative things, just comments. They're just like, how do you live day to day if you think sort of these sort of things? You make these sort of comments that are just like, I don't know, just frustrating. Like I don't understand people to get up, put their shoes on, brush their teeth, and go to their jobs with their rationale and logic they use.
Oh yeah, man. Well, these people definitely, like anyone trolling anyone online saying mean shit to a stranger, that's why it's like it's never even worth responding.
I never do, because you got to think about like, I mean, for like obviously right now, like for example, in this season, Corinne's getting a lot of heat. I mean, we'll talk about it in a second, but like for me to go out of my time to go on to her Instagram and write something negative, first off, I gotta have no life or have a lot of time on my hands. B, I gotta be kind of angry or upset inside with myself. I'm not a content, happy person. You think people like Oprah Winfrey or Leonardo DiCaprio go on social media and write negative things about people? No, they're happy.
Yeah.
People, probably. They're busy and they're content with who they are. They don't care about some, girl on next season they don't give two shits about her. You know what I mean?
Right, dude.
It's just.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. No, you go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, my job. I'm a stand-up comedian, and it's just. And I've been on TV shows, and it's funny because if you put a video online, or someone puts a video online, most people are like, "Oh, this is funny." And the thing is, like, especially with humor, if you don't think something's funny, if I don't think something's funny, I'll be like, "Oh, I didn't think that was funny." I don't take the time to log in and tell people how I didn't think it was funny. But I mean, on my videos, you'll see people being like, "Oh, this is great, blah blah, so funny," and then someone will be like, "This guy's a fucking faggot!" Like out of nowhere, there's just someone going, "This guy fucking sucks. That audience is stupid." It's like, geez, like how angry are you right now that you're writing that?
That's the thing. They're just not someone who's happy inside, who's intelligent, won't make those kind of comments. It's the people who make those kind of comments they're negative. They have negative energy. They are unintelligent. They don't have any good logic and reasoning. And so those are the type of people. And unfortunately, a lot of society is made up of those people. But it is what it is. For someone like myself, who I consider myself quite intelligent and I'm quite confident, I could care less. I think it's kind of, and I feel kind of bad at times for these people, but it's also humorous. But sometimes it does get frustrating when you just want to say something, but you can't have a conversation with someone who doesn't have half a brain.
No, it's impossible. I mean, they lack the ability to see things from a differing perspective, right? They only can see things through their eyes. And so you mentioned Nick. Nick got a pretty bad rap, right? I mean, I think Paradise overall was a redemption story. Everybody's seen that. He's obviously the Bachelor now. What do you know about Nick? I mean, having had a chance to spend some time with him, like I would just love to hear your thoughts on Nick.
Well, first off, like he was on 2 seasons before Paradise, and I guess a lot of people weren't too impressed with him after 2 seasons. And I was thinking to myself, if I had 2 seasons on shows, I'm sure the amount of airtime I got on Bachelorette, like people either kind of love me or hate me or whatever. I just think that's kind of crazy that after 2 seasons that people still didn't like him, like after everything, And if I had that much time, I think people would end up loving me, and the people that didn't love me, I don't care. But and then he goes on Paradise, and he only had so much airtime on Paradise, to be honest, and now people all of a sudden start liking him, and which is good. He's a lot of people, like, again, from the first 2 seasons, they're making of all these negative thoughts of him. But again, you got to realize it's TV and they only show certain parts. But I spent a bunch of time with him on Paradise, and yeah, I mean, like anyone, they have good qualities and bad qualities, and he's a decent guy. And I was happy that it was him over Luke and Chase, because I find those guys probably would have been more boring than Nick is currently. Like, no offense to Nick, but it's just not the most entertaining TV, you know? It really is. I'm not.
I mean, they surround him, and they're surrounding him with drama, right? To your point. I mean, you look at even the current storyline right now, right, Daniel, is Corinne versus Taylor. And it's like, what the fuck is going on here? So, I mean, someone like a Corinne who is being portrayed as the villain, what do you think about her as you watch back this season?
Well, personally, like, some people might say, some people might think, that's not her in real life, or maybe she's getting a bad at it, or yada, yada, yada. No. In my personal opinion is, like, without being too negative, is that she is the type of girl that has all the bad qualities that guys hate in someone, like in a girl. Like, they think, maybe girls who try to use their looks, or girls who are. My mom even called her a bimbo, I think. Like, my mom was like my mom, she's not a big fan of her. You know, she comes across as uneducated. She comes across as, just no logic and reasoning. She tries to use, they're just immature, obnoxious, just, I don't know, just no good qualities, basically. Kind of comes across as being privileged. She says she runs $1 million company. Yeah, that was your parents' company, because you didn't start that from scratch, and I'm sure you don't even run the whole thing yourself. And it was like, if anybody knows that, like she said, like, it was just her parents, like, basically she took over her parents' company, or so the way she comes across, like, it was so funny when her and Taylor were having that conversation, and she's like, don't talk like I'm an idiot. I run $1 million company. Well, it's your parents, basically.
Let's tell the whole story here. Exactly.
It was so funny too. Like, Taylor started talking about different types of intelligence, like intellectual and emotional, and it was so funny. She was describing it quite well, because Taylor's quite intelligent. She has her master's, I think it's psychology or some sort. Like, she's done, like, that's quite a bit of university, because I've done my undergrad in 4 or 5 years. And then to get your master's is like another 2. So Taylor is actually quite intelligent, but it's so funny seeing, like, Corinne had no idea what she was talking about.
Yeah.
She didn't know how to react to it, too, I think.
I know.
I have a feeling that's not the first time Corinne has said to somebody when they were challenging her, "Hey, I run a multi-million-dollar company."
Of course, I know.
Yeah, that's like her line, it seems like.
And I can understand, like, if you have a nanny, or, like, how does nanny sound so silly, but I can understand, like, if you have someone cleaning your house or whatever, but, like, the fact that she probably doesn't even know how to tie her own shoelaces, or, like, does the most basic, she probably doesn't know how to do the most basic things, that she has this nanny doing, like, everything for her. She's just probably quite spoiled. But again, maybe she's a great person, but from the 4 episodes and all the airtime she's seen, like, oh man, she's coming across quite bad. And yeah, I would rather, like, get married to a dude I'd rather get married to Chad than Corinne,
Well, Dan, I got to ask you, so this is the final thing. I was kind of curious about Corinne, in your opinion, as we watch this back, trying to put ourselves in Nick's position. Corinne does seem pretty fun, right? I think she's obviously attractive. She's very forward, but she's very into Nick. So from, trying to put yourself in his shoes, I could see why he would be into her in return, right? Because it's still very early. But, I mean, what do you see there? Do you see any chemistry?
So there's different things to think about this. First off, I mean, I personally don't think Corinne's attractive. I mean, maybe it's her personality, but like, just looks wise, she's for me, she's just average. But Nick, again, he only can see so much. He can't see the behind the scenes stuff. But maybe, obviously, from what I've heard, or from previous seasons, or yada yada, that's, he's into. He's a very sexual kind of person. Maybe the producers are keeping around for, ratings or whatever. I don't know. I mean, if I was a producer, that's what I would do personally, because, it's entertainment.
Yeah, she's good for ratings.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. People always ask me, like, the behind the scenes stuff. Again, I don't know. Producers don't tell us. And even if they did tell us, I couldn't tell you because I'll get sued. But if I was a producer, I would keep her around just because, she creates drama, because otherwise, it'd be boring, right?
Yeah, I think what Ian was trying to allude to too is because I mentioned this to one of our like recap episodes, is that I could see how, because we don't really know how much time he actually gets with these people and how much they see. So if there's a bunch of girls in the house and I'm him, and there's one girl who's just being super, I mean, let's face it, she's acting kind of slutty,
Yeah.
That might just stand out as being interesting. He might just be like,
of course, yeah.
Yeah,
of course. I mean, like, if I found a girl, for example, if I found a girl, like, say just some random girl, and I was really attracted to her, I don't know if I really care that much that the other girls don't like her. It depends on how I feel towards her, and if I was sexually attracted to her, and if there are some negative things about her, I might keep her around for a bit and see, on how things work out. So I mean, to each her own, I guess, but she's definitely not my cup of tea.
So let me ask you this then, because you mentioned if you went back on Paradise, so obviously that's like a door that's still open.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of, yeah, I mean, definitely it's not a closed door or anything. I mean, they bring back people from previous seasons, which sometimes I think about that. I'm like Jared, for example, he's a great guy. He's an awesome guy, but there's a difference between being a great guy and being someone that's good for TV. And unfortunately, a lot of these people are so boring for TV. Like, there's just no personality that's good for TV. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
God Almighty, if they bring back Ashley I for another season, I'll shoot myself in the head. Just 'cause, I mean, just like even if I'm not on it, but just like the fact that it's like, if the society has to listen to her cry again for the amount of time she did it. It's just, oh man, it's horrible. Like for example, Lace is a character, and hers is pretty good for TV, and Carly as well. Sarah, like, I mean, not everyone can be funny as me, but at least you gotta have a little more of a personality to like make the TV, and more entertaining,
Right. Wait, I want to ask you this though, because you said Corinne is totally not your type. If you did get asked to go back to Paradise, it sounds like you'd be game for it, and I feel like on Paradise,
I would definitely go back on.
Right, yeah. So they showed a lot more of you on Paradise, and I thought you were funny on JoJo season 2, and I just got been around TV. I could tell they edit people. I'm like, oh, they're clearly just using him for like funny sound bites, and he's one of the only.
Yeah.
He was only. You were the only guys that was you weren't like intimidated by Chad, and everybody else seemed to be like, oh, is he around? But on Paradise they showed a lot more of you, and we could see that you were like deeper than whatever they showed and everything. So if you were back on Paradise and say Corinne, who knows what happens with this season, she ends up on Paradise, you wouldn't even be. What if she came on to you real strong, and you had to get a rose or whatever? That's how Paradise works, right? It like switches who's in charge. You wouldn't give Corinne a little bit of a chance if you were in that situation?
I mean, oh man, like you're saying, if I needed a rose and if I had to win Corinne over, would I do it?
I'm saying, yeah, sort of, but like not even like you're desperate for a rose, but you show up, the women are in charge that week or however it works, and Corinne's really into you. You don't think that would, as a guy, that kind of turns you on a little, like at least at the beginning, if a girl's really into you, right?
I mean, I guess I'd have to meet her in person first. So at this point in time, I don't know what I'd do.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan at this point in time, but again, I'd like to see what she's like in person. But if I had the rose and there was her and another girl, I'd most likely give it to the other girl, right?
Yeah, right. What about who? So you're naming a couple people that you said that you find like pretty average looking and then pretty boring. Who that you were on Paradise with, or who have you seen on any of these other shows that you find is like really attractive?
So on Nick's season?
On Nick's season, yeah, I want to know what you think with the girls on Nick's season. I want to know people that you've actually been on like Paradise with, like who were you like, oh, she's beautiful? Because you do seem to have high standards, which I like. I like the way you call everyone average. It's pretty fucking hilarious.
It's not just that. It's because I tell it like it is. I have an opinion. I'm not going to be fake, and I'm not going to try to hurt people's feelings. But I'm not going to tell every girl she's beautiful just so I come across as a gentleman. It's like I like to be realistic. I have standards, and my standards are different to other people. So it's like, don't judge me, just because I don't think this girl is good looking, and I think this girl is, So, anyways,
Yeah, it's all
on
taste.
Paradise, yeah, exactly, right. So
Yeah.
on Paradise, I think attractive wise, the best one was probably maybe Jen.
Okay.
I didn't really there was some girls that came in afterwards, and I can't really remember them. And then on Nick's season, let's think. Vanessa's not bad, the comedian.
Oh, right.
Personality wise, she seems quite intelligent. I like that the fact that she was saying, what was she saying? Like, basically, the fact that it's one thing that Corinne acts this way, but the fact that Nick doesn't care and will accept that behavior.
Oh, yeah. She kind of broke that down to Nick. I like that.
But yeah, so Vanessa's okay. Danielle. Well, both Danielles aren't bad. The nurse, she seems like a good person, and also I don't know if she's Chinese, half Chinese, or I don't know what it is. I don't know.
Oh, Danielle M.
Asian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then who else?
Daniel, what
do you think about Haley? Because she's from Canada, right?
Oh yeah. She's a good looking girl. I've hung out with her a couple of times. She's nice. She's quite fun. But for me to be engaged with her, she's a little too young, honestly. Just in that sense, she's 23, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, because that's the problem with Nick is that he's 36. All these girls are 23, 24, 25. It's I know age is only a number, but the fact that when it's 10 years or more, it's a huge difference, just think about it for a second. When you're 20 years old, you can't, if you're dating a 10-year-old, I mean, obviously you can't do that legally, but it's,
Yeah.
for example, I'm not saying, I wouldn't casually date a 20-year-old because I'm 32. I'm not saying I wouldn't do that, but the fact that someone who's 18 or 19, say, since I was 18 or 19, I've done 5.5 years of university. I've traveled the world and I've done this and that and this and that. So the things that I've seen and done, it's just hard to kind of relate to people who, are fresh out of high school or in their first or second year of university to get really serious on in a serious relationship. It's quite hard, but sometimes, I've met some girls who are younger, who are quite mature for their age. And, I guess age is only a number and to each their own, but I find a lot of these girls, it's quite evident that there's a big age difference, between Nick and, some of these girls.
And it's an age difference, but it's also just a life experience difference too, right? I mean, you've mentioned it a couple times. You're definitely not fake or phony, which I think is something that all the listeners and the Bachelor Nation, if you will, really appreciates about you. I think that's something too that Chad initially gave off that vibe, right?
Yeah, he
Chad,
did. So that's what that's kind of what I liked about him at the beginning. At the beginning, he came across as not being fake or phony, and that he wasn't jumping in love right away, and just kind of be laid back, and he had, pretty good sense of humor as well. And, we both like to work out. So that's what was good at the beginning. But then, as time did go on, as you saw on the show, it kind of got a little out of control, a little too much, and, he would never apologize and this and that. But, it's funny because after I watched it back, when it was airing, I was like, God, these guys are being big babies and really fake and cheesy. And, all they did was talk about him. So, I kind of understand where Chad was coming from. He's kind of getting ganged up on it, but he did bring a lot of it on himself,
No, absolutely. I mean, does Chad at some point too realize that he is being painted as a villain when you guys are filming, whether it's with producers just telling him, or did he become self-aware at any point, right?
I don't think so. I don't think he came at the time. I'm pretty sure he didn't think he was coming across as a villain at all. I think at the time it was more these guys are being little bitches and, they're just kind of nonstop talking about me and yada, yada, yada. And, but it's funny, watching that season and now watching this season with Corinne, I was thinking, I'm comparing, because some people are comparing Chad and Corinne as, they're both the the bad person of the group and yada yada yada. But like, at least Chad was at least funny, and at least Chad had some good points and whatnot. But man, Corinne, Jesus Christ, it's just bad. It's bad. Like,
There's
like,
maybe a lack of redeeming qualities for sure.
yeah, it's just like, I think like a 90-day difference between the two. Like, I don't know.
You brought up a good point, right? I felt like Chad definitely injected his own brand of humor. I think that's fair to say. And someone like Evan during JoJo's season was really the opposite of Chad, right? And so that was maybe some of the storyline that we're seeing now with the Taylor versus Corinne thing. What was the whole Evan drama like? And what was maybe some of the other folks in the house that you spent time with on The Bachelorette? Was there anybody that rubbed you the wrong way? Were there people that you really got along with who you felt like, maybe got a raw deal in terms of their edit?
As for Evan, like, yeah, when I first met him too, I was kind of like, oh my God, kind of just very different. Like, I thought when I first met him, I thought he was like really girly and kind of like a weasel and just kind of like a little bitch. But, as time went on, you kind of learn he has good qualities and bad qualities, just like anyone. And especially on Paradise, we got along. So I think Evan partially was trying to he was trying to poke the Chad bear at times. I'm pretty sure he was trying to get a reaction. Even with me, like a couple of times, like when I was talking to Chad about Hitler and whatnot, I was trying to get a reaction out of him just for fun,
It was just for fun. I mean, like, you guys, we've talked to so many people at this point, and really the one thing that I think the general viewing audience doesn't pick up is the fact that you guys are in this giant house, or when you're traveling, you're in these hotel rooms all day, no cell phone, nothing to do. You have to keep yourself entertained at some point, right? So
no, it's all you do is talk. So it's just like chit chat and talk, eat, and just hang out. So it's just like, you gotta like just talk about everything and anything. And unfortunately, a lot of these guys, they just talk about JoJo and Chad.
One thing I wanted to ask you too, I think a lot of people remember I was going to say famous, but just the infamous rather shot of you and Chad working out. And then they had that cutaway to Evan kind of doing his own version of a workout when you guys were doing pull-ups outside. And was that staged, or was that just something that you guys did every day? Just went outside and worked out?
Good question. So like we were just saying, how there's nothing to do. So we just talk, eat, and work out. Yeah. So basically, I think most people worked out. I think almost every single guy worked out at least some point throughout the day. Some took it more serious, some were just casual. And I think I worked out most days as well. And me and Chad definitely took it more serious. I mean, you could tell between the bodies, between me and Chad and everyone else, more serious to take it. I mean, I'm a personal trainer, so I mean, that's kind of just my life. And I love working out. So yeah, I obviously were able to play it up a little bit on TV because, we have the better bodies and we're bigger, so they make us look more like meatheads. And then obviously you have Evan, who's like more like the opposite of us too. So no, that wasn't staged, because we wanted to work out. You go crazy without doing anything, right?
Oh yeah, that makes total sense.
Daniel, I have a question about the working out, because obviously you and Chad were in really good shape. I mean, a lot of the other guys are in really good shape too.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yep.
But I'm saying, like, okay, so I used to be in, like, not as big as you guys, but I was like really lean and cut up. That's hard to do. Like, did you guys have, I mean, obviously it's mostly diet, but like, were you guys able to, is there a gym there? Could you guys lift weights, or could you run anywhere?
Good question. So there was a spot that you can run around, like kind of like not like a track, but like an outdoor area that some guys were running out. I didn't run so much just because I was being lazy at the time and it was quite warm at times, but also just because I just wanted to lift some weights. But it was funny because Chad had requested, or I think it was Chad had requested, told the producers or people, can you get some weights for us? Because at that point, there was no weights. Some people brought some elastic bands. And so they ended up getting some weights for us. They got us, I think, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, and 50-pound dumbbells. And so we were able to use those. And the producers, I think, we were the first season ever to request and get weights.
Okay.
So yeah, there was no gym. We just made our own gym. We just made our own like workouts, outside.
Yeah, because I was gonna say. I mean, I said to my wife, I said to Ian, I was like, that's hard to maintain that level of leanness and muscle when all you're doing is, like push-ups or something.
Oh, exactly. Of course, yeah. So, but you got to think about it. Like, I was only there for like 3 weeks, so I mean, with a relatively healthy diet, you're able to, maintain, to look okay, right? So, I mean, if it was 6 months, then obviously, yeah, you start to lose, that muscle mass without, a proper gym.
So, what did you? What was your take on some of the other guys in the house? You said Luke and Chase you felt were a little boring.
Well, when I just say boring, I just mean as in like they're not good for TV,
Okay. What about?
Like,
Okay, go ahead.
the thing I found, like, again, I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it's because it was, people were under pressure, or because, we're on TV at the time, that I found like a lot of times, but again, I kind of held back and I didn't say as much, and I kind of was, because I just didn't want to ruffle any feathers, and, because I'm kind of the person where it's like teach your own, but I just found like a lot of times the guys were just kind of soft, and there's just no like dude, like me and Chad, bros being bros, kind of like just talking about like, being realistic more so, like how you saw me talking on Paradise and Bachelorette, like the way I talk and stuff like that. It's just like how a lot of guys talk. Like sometimes when I saw on TV the way some of these guys were talking, I was just like, man, it just comes across so cheesy and fake. Where like I've never come across guys like that in my entire life. I'm 32 years old.
Oh, yeah.
I've worked landscaping jobs, construction. I've worked in restaurants, personal training, modeling. I've traveled the world and never come across guys that were like, again, maybe they're doing it for TV's sake, or maybe it was just one side of their personality. I don't know, but it was just like, man, it just like seemed like a bunch of girls at times,
It does definitely, and I don't know if you know like the background of our podcast, but the Bachelorette, I think. Oh wait, no, I watched The Bachelor with Ben, and then Ian and I started doing the podcast during your guys' season of The Bachelorette. So I never saw any other shows, and I would say to Ian how weird it is. It's more natural when it's more natural. I don't know if it's it's natural, but when a bunch of girls are kind of clamoring over a guy, like, oh, he's so hot and successful and whatever. But it was weird when like JoJo would walk in and seeing like a bunch of grown men like, oh man, I hope she looks at me. It's like I don't know.
Yeah,
like you said, I don't know any guys like that.
No, I know. That's why I was like, I was like, what is going on here? Like at the time when like we were in the house and whatnot, I was kind of like, I don't know. This is just the TV and this is part of the game or whatever. But after watching it on TV, I was like, wow, Chad was right for what he was saying, and I was thinking the same thing, but I just kind of like just held back. I was like, whatever,
Right.
But it was true. Like, what's going on here, So that's why, like, when I went into Paradise, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna be as quiet and as reserved because I'm the kind of person, I'm more open and honest. And that's how, I went on Paradise. I was kind of, the first episode there, I was maybe being a little bit too honest,
Yeah, exactly. But then, like you said, it makes for good TV. I want to know what you think of. Yeah, what do you think of Jordan? Because even on a show full of people who might have been coming off a little phony, he was kind of labeled as the guy who was the phoniest or there for the wrong reasons. What was your take on, like, what was he like guy to guy in the house? And do you think he was kind of phony or there for the wrong reasons?
Well, like I only spent so much time around the guys. I was only there for like 3 weeks, and so I mean, I didn't like some people I spoke with more than others, and some people had their little groups or like closer friends, and depending on like which room you're living in and yada yada, what you had in common and whatnot. And I don't know, he seemed like a decent guy. He was definitely confident, and it was funny because he seemed like, he was very confident with her. And then the fact that in the first 3 weeks there was like 2 football dates, and I'm like, people were saying like, what are the chances? Like, what's going on here? And then after watching it back, and then he ended up getting engaged with her, and then like rumors were coming out that they knew each other beforehand. I'm thinking to myself like, everything's kind of making sense now. It's kind of like, huh.
Yeah, well, it made you think. I think, we caught that as well. And one of those deals with the whole JoJo and Jordan relationship was right from the jump. I mean, you could tell there was chemistry, and having chatted with a number of folks, whether it be with like James Taylor, he said specifically, everybody knew right away that Jordan and JoJo, that was going to be something that you're going to have to deal with, right? Did that feel kind of like this elephant in the room, if you will?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like there were some like relationships or like some connections. Like I'm very observant, and I'm good intuition, and like you could just see the chemistry between people. Like you could definitely see it there, the way when she looks at him and yada yada yada. Like it's quite obvious, and you kind of like you only get so much time with her. It's kind of like there's no chance in hell, and plus it's kind of hard to try to. For me, it was hard to force it, because I wasn't really that attracted to her. I kind of wanted to learn about her and give her a chance, and for her to get to know me, and I didn't want to go home, and more things like that. So
exactly, but you're not gonna like grovel or something like that, right? You're not gonna be one of those guys who's just like, "Hey, JoJo, pay attention to me over here."
No, not at all. No, I'm never fight like that. I never have, and never will. I never had a problem getting girls, and so it's like the fact that like 25 guys have to fight for one girl. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, no, if she wants to be, then good. And I said to her a couple times, I said to JoJo, I was like, okay, listen, you have to get to know us guys, and you have to learn. So you have to basically know about us. So I told her, I'm like, this is me. I basically like, I don't even have to listen to you or what you're about, because you're the one making the decisions around here. At the end of the day, it's up to you. And so, I mean, especially at the beginning, for her to sort out the people she wants not. So I said, this is me. I told her a little bit who I am and what I believe in, and kind of left it with her. And kind of that's the way she goes,
Yeah,
she wants to hang out with me, or she wants to keep me around, then cool. If not, then okay, whatever. I'm not going to cry.
So, and there's a difference between, as we all know, confidence and cockiness. I felt like you definitely came off as being confident. You mentioned that you did not have much familiarity with the show or the franchise prior to being on it. So I'm curious, how did you get on the show? What is the story behind you actually being on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette?
That's it. Thanks. I appreciate the confident cockiness. It's funny because, depending on who you ask, people either say I'm confident or cocky, and it's like, it's totally, again, it's interpretation. A lot of it might be, if people say you're cocky, they might be the ones that are jealous, or insecure or whatever, right?
Exactly.
So, anyways, how did I get on the show? So as I spoke with other guys in the house, you kind of learned how they got casted, and there was things such as I applied, other ones, my brother or sister applied for me. A couple people got found through the internet or through just, I think one person said, I can't remember who it was. Like I was in a restaurant and the casting director overheard me talking, and before you know it, they asked if I wanted to go on the show. With me, I got a message sent to me on Facebook, and I can't remember if it was a casting director or someone like that, and they said, "Hey Daniel, do you want to go on the show?" But I didn't. I still had to try out for it. I still had to do the whole process to go to the casting and whatnot. But it was just kind of like an invitation, I guess you'd say.
Wow. Okay. So that's a different approach though than most people. So you weren't proactively, nor did you have someone submitting on your behalf. You were actually found.
And that's what's kind of funny sometimes is like people are like, well, they think that like another thing is that they think it's funny. I forgot. Well, both shows, guys and girls, that like people who go on it. Well, some people think that they're desperate to find love. It's like, no, it's about having an opportunity. It's about having an experience. It's about having fun, and it's about maybe meeting someone. And having this experience on TV, right? And definitely. So, like, a lot of times people think that, you're like desperately, you'll find love. Like, first off, a lot of these people who go on the show, sorry to say it, they're not going on to find love. They're going on for an experience or to find fame and what other, like, you got to be very realistic about the situation, especially when it comes to, like when you're one of the 25 or 30 people, the chances are very slim to none that you're going to find love and that it will last. How many of these relationships are the people still engaged or married?
Not many. Not
Well,
many. I mean,
just in life in general, like the divorce, just in life, in society, in general life, it's like 40% divorce rate. Like, I mean, relationships come and go. It's just the way things go, right?
it's just kind of how it works. Totally.
Exactly, right? So the chances like of falling in love when you are fighting against 24 other people for one girl, it's not good. So, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people go on the show because, I'm not saying everyone goes on the show for these reasons, but, it's like I went on it for I thought it'd be fun because I thought it'd be a great experience because it'd be a great experience to have on TV because maybe I can meet a girl, not because I'm desperately looking for a girl or whatever, but because I was single at the time, and why not, right?
It's definitely a why not question. I mean, you already mentioned that you'd be open to going back to Paradise. What has your dating life been like since being on the show? Do you find yourself being recognized? Have you been reached out to by women maybe on social media? How's that worked?
Yeah, so after Bachelorette, I got noticed a bunch, quite a bit. But then after Paradise, it was like a whole nother level. Like, it was crazy. I couldn't get over how crazy. You just don't understand it until it's actually happens to yourself because, like, every city I'm in, at airports, restaurants, the gym, wherever you go, and all ages too, anywhere from 15 to like 70. So not just like 20-year-old girls. I'm talking like all ages. And I kid you not, after Paradise, it seemed like out of all the people that come up to me, it's probably like 40% guys, if not more, who come up to me and say like, "Oh, they're the same thing that they usually say." Which it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Which is
probably you're hilarious. We appreciate the fact that you kept it real and you brought some entertainment to the season as I watch it with my wife or significant other. Am I right?
Basically, I mean, I'm not gonna brag and toot my own horn, but so I mean, it's a lot of good stuff. But the one thing they often said is, my girlfriend or my wife got me into the show, or we watched it together, or that sort of thing. So I was surprised of how many guys watch the show, but also after being on these shows, as Bachelorette and Paradise, you don't realize how many people watch the show until you go on it. Like, I mean, like, I think it's probably like The Bachelor is probably the most watched show out there. Like it's the most talked about show. Like, everything social media wise is The Bachelor. Like, as in when you hear shows like The Voice or Dancing with the Stars, it's not even like, it doesn't seem nearly as popular as The Bachelor or Paradise. Like, every single person I talk to, when they say, I'm like, what show do you like better? First off, every single person I think have said they like Paradise more than Bachelorette. But then also, like, this one show that people say, oh, I love that show, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, It's crazy.
Paradise is a little bit, I kind of enjoyed it better too, because there's more interchangeable parts, and it's not just
exactly.
It seemed a little bit more real. It didn't seem like a bunch of dudes pretending that they're all obsessed with one girl. And
it's true, because when I did it, like, both shows were the first time doing it, but after doing Paradise, it was way better. Like, just more fun, more laid back, more realistic because you have more girls to choose from, and it's not you have a lot more time to hang out. You're just hanging out with everyone on a beach, and so like
totally.
Bachelor or Bachelorette, you're not hanging out in all the like Nick's not hanging out in the house the whole time, right? As it's shown on TV, they go on dates and stuff like that, right?
Exactly. Well, damn, Daniel. It's like we look forward to seeing you back, whether it's in Paradise or even, I know, Bachelor Canada. Perhaps maybe they can put your ring in for that. Your hat into the ring, because Jasmine, right? Jasmine just kicked off the first season ever with the Bachelorette. Do you know her personally?
No, she's from Vancouver. I've never met her. I think I've spoken with her a couple times on social media, but no, I've never met her. I've heard she's cool. So she's a local girl, and I know Bachelor, the Bachelor Canada is casting, and
Perfect.
I put my name in that. I have put my name in the hat for that. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, there you go. Nice.
I think because obviously it'd be a lot of fun and good experience, and a lot better chances when you have 25 girls to choose from, than the opposite way around, right?
Absolutely.
I'd love seeing you as the Bachelor in Canada. That'd be great. They all walk
That'd be
out of the
great.
thing, and you're like,
You know,
average,
it's-
average, get going, average.
Well, I mean, like I don't know if I would necessarily. I'd definitely take. I would definitely take it more serious, and I would definitely be more, just not be so much the way I was. Like, since I would take it more serious, I would just. And plus, I'm in Canada. I'm representing Canada. I'd just would just be more regular, I guess you'd say. But you'd still get a lot of laughs, and people would still love to watch it.
You'd still be Daniel at the end of the
Oh
day.
yeah,
and we
I'll never change, but
can't change.
yeah, I definitely, maybe I would tone it down just a tiny bit.
Well, so we want to get you out of here by giving you a chance to let listeners know where they can keep in touch with you, man. Whether that's on social media or if you have a website you want them to check out, now is the time to share that.
I don't have a website yet. People keep saying, "Oh, some of my friends, why don't you get a website?" I've just been lazy. That's the thing. Like, 'cause I notice like a lot of people are always on like Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram story, and it's just, man, it's a lot of work. I'm just kind of like, I love Instagram and I like putting up pictures when I have pictures, but it's just a lot of work. And it's like, I know some people are always on their phones and they're always like, it just takes your life away, like real life. Like
Yeah.
it's not, so I just, sometimes like I go a couple days or a week without posting anything. So it's just like, right now I'm just, I'm personal training, I'm working in a restaurant and I'm doing a couple other things, but my life isn't always like flashy, this and that. And so I go through phases, with posting and whatnot. So
Okay, so we'll
anyways,
tell people
right now I use probably Instagram the most, and so it's Daniel Sean Maguire.
Awesome, man. We're gonna put that in the show notes too, so we'll make sure that we call that out there. And Daniel, it's been a pleasure, man. We appreciate you coming on and making some time and really getting a chance to know you a little bit more. We can absolutely tell that you are maybe the most real dude that we've spoken with so far, right? You keep it very, very honest, and we appreciate that. So we're wishing you
Thanks for
success.
having me.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a cold right now, so it might sound a little bit nasally, but thanks for having me.
Oh, no, man. You're great. Thanks for coming on.
Hey guys, one last thing. On Instagram, make sure to check out and follow our friends at Bachelor_Nation, who we've teamed up with along with our sponsors to run giveaways and upcoming promotions, which include Skype dates with previous contestants. Thanks so much for listening. Today's episode of the E&G podcast is sponsored by our good friends at Clothing by Owl. All you Bachelor fans will recognize this name as they are the company behind the hugely popular Wine, Bachelor, and Yoga Pants tank top. What you may not know is that they give back a percentage of every item sold to Animal Rescue, and that notable Bachelor alums like JoJo Fletcher, Caitlin Bristow, Lauren Bushnell, Ben Higgins, and Nick Vale are all huge supporters. We're happy to offer our listeners 20% off when you visit clothingbyowl.com. Simply add the discount code ENG, that's EANDG, to save on all your Bachelor gear. And be sure to follow them on social media at Clothing by Owl.
Jeff and I are doggy dads, which is why we're so excited to be partnering with our newest sponsor, Puppies Make Me Happy. They have a super simple mission to make the happiest clothes on earth, which they do. And we know our listeners will love this brand just as much as we do. Plus, we're excited to help spread a little happiness ourselves by offering listeners 20% off all merchandise by using discount code ENG. That's EANDG at checkout. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at Puppies Make Me Happy.
I'm killing it.